Chabad overreacted when it distanced itself from Shlomo Carlebach. At least, that's what the world has said for decades. But now, with allegations of tens of rapes once again in the headlines, the halachic guardrails on modesty have once again been vindicated. This is the story. In the late 1940s, the previous Chabad Rebbe dispatched many of his best students to college campuses to teach authentic Judaism there. Of these student rabbis, Shlomo was one of the most talented. He was charismatic and warm. But as his outreach work continued, many of the Jewish guardrails for modesty, which Carlebach had been brought up with, fell to the side. Guardrails like not dancing with a woman that's not your wife, or being in close quarters with such a woman. Especially as a bachelor, Carlebach got married in his mid-40s, and especially in a position of influence as a rabbi. Carlebach's claimed purpose was that a removal of these boundaries would widen his appeal and therefore his influence. Whether he was actually motivated by this purpose or by less altruistic ones can be debated. To be clear, the allegations of rape do not come from the moment he removed those guardrails in the early 50s. But as the Talmud often says, ein apotropos le'arayos. There is no guardian preventing sexual impropriety. Even a talented rabbi with holy intentions can stumble. From what we know, there seems to be about a decade between the first laxity of standards and the first instances of major sex crimes. And even those, at the time, were not widely known. Still, the story goes that quite early on, when word got out of his, let's call it, permissiveness, he was confronted by the Rebbe in a private meeting. It was only the Rebbe and Carlebach in that room, so I don't think anybody knows exactly what was said. We can gather clues by studying a talk the Rebbe gave publicly around that time. In short, without saying names, the Rebbe summarized the argument of the pro-standard removal side. They compare the rapid loss of Jewish identity to a burning building. If there's a risk of people getting burnt, one should not contemplate water purity before putting out the fire. So too, they argue, we must be prepared to sacrifice any standard in order to bring more people in. The Rebbe countered, yes, but fires cannot be extinguished with gasoline. The Rebbe's view, and that of most observant Jews, is that we cannot put all Jewish values up for grabs in the name of conserving Judaism. There comes a certain point where one must say, I've done my utmost within God's guidelines. Where the chips fall is God's mystery. If I may paraphrase the Rebbe, if the paramount value of Judaism is how many people attend, then we may as well turn all synagogues into chipotles. Back to Carlebach. I am not, God forbid, saying that the lack of strict modesty norms causes abuse. Nor am I saying that with guardrails in place, nothing evil is ever committed. I am saying, statistically, the more guardrails in place, the less likely abuse becomes. This is especially true, as Tocqueville writes, for people who grew up with those precautions and then want to abruptly remove them, as was the case with Carlebach. It's up to you and your shul whether to separate the art from the artist and continue singing Carlebach tunes. But let his story be a lesson on the importance of such precautions, whether we're considering keeping them ourselves or tempted to mock those who do.